I grew up with a hand-eye coordination problem. I grew up with asthma. I've always lived my life in this care. I'm not a smart worker. Things don't come easy. But I can do one thing which I guess nobody else can. I can put in as many hours as possible. And you know, people say that right place, right time. You have to be at that place at all times to catch the right moment to get the opportunity, right? You make your own luck in the sense that you show up every day, you put in the same hard work every day, ek din opportunity aayega. If you don't show up every day, that opportunity may come in day 1, day 100, day 1000. But you have to be there for the 1000 days or the 100 days or that day specifically when the opportunity comes to take it. Anything that has your name on it has to be 11 on 10 or can't have anything. Mediocrity is not okay, and if it has your name on it, it has to be you. The journey of life is not one long marathon. It's a marathon broken up into many small sprints. I don't need alcohol while I'm watching sports because I love sports. But स्टेडियम में ना जब आप अल्कोहल नहीं देते हो लोगों को, एटमॉस्फेयर इतना अच्छा नहीं है स्टेडियम में, थोड़ा ठंडा है वो बडवाइजर वाला जो, हाँ थोड़ा ठंडा है एटमॉस्फेयर इन द स्टेडियम, वो एक है. दूसरा सिटी में कुछ कल्चर नहीं है, इट्स जस्ट बिल्डिंग. और 1 बजे सब बार्स बंद हो जाते हैं, बार्स क्लब्स बंद हो जाते हैं 1-2 बजे, तो गेम 12 बजे खत्म होता है. जब आप स्टेडियम से निकल के होटल तक पहुंच जाते हो टाइप्स तो 1:30 हो जाता है, तो फिर आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते हो. गेम के बाद क्या करेंगे, सो जाते थे.
One of the best part of this World Cup is the marketing campaigns.
अच्छे थे.
हाँ लुई विटॉन और वो तो आपने देखा
है.
8.2 million likes. It's the most liked picture on Instagram
ever.
Yeah, crazy. And वो दोनों साथ में भी नहीं थे apparently. That picture was taken अलग से and
अच्छा मूव किया था.
हाँ and वैसे कर रखा था. And Adidas also just put out in the news yesterday that all the Argentina Messi shirts across the world is gone. कितना influence है, मतलब मैं वही एक वीडियो देख रहा था कि इन्फ्लुएंसर्स आर ट्राइंग टू बिकम स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन नाउ इन द यूएस नाउ विद लोगन पॉल गेटिंग इनटू WWE in boxing.
Logan Paul is in WWE?
हाँ, he signed a contract in WWE. He's fighting Roman Reigns. He lost to Roman Reigns recently, 1-2 महीने पहले. In general sports, आप क्रिकेट भी आपने काफ़ी खेला है. What are your core learnings?
So first I'll say one interesting thing about sports. Sports and restaurants are the only things, only industries where your success and failure is totally naked, if you think about it, right? You're running a company, I was running a company, now I'm running a VC fund. Whether I'm doing well or not, it's not totally evident and available to public eye, right? What you're earning, etc., all of that, you'll put on Instagram, you'll put on LinkedIn, etc. People will know, but you can also fake it. But in a restaurant, I'm not talking about cloud kitchen, in a restaurant, if the restaurant is empty, everybody knows the restaurant is empty and it's not doing well. Similarly in sports, your entire result, your performance is available to the world to see. You go on CricBuzz, you can see the stats of any player. You go on any Forza football, you can see the results of the game.
Yeah.
On TV, the results are available. So, you have to be, you're under maximum scrutiny in sport, right? Correct. And dealing with pressure.
Correct.
That pressure on a daily basis, during a game, inside a game, nervousness, performance, excitement, that's an amazing learning for any entrepreneur. There was a cricket series in Sharjah, which is now called the Desert Storm series, where Sachin scored some amazing knocks against Australia. At that time, in Indian cricket, which is not the case today, when Sachin got out, we shut the TV. Now, the weight of expectation on Sachin, this is all on me, boss.
Yeah.
And that time, 1 billion, now that time the population was 1 billion. 1 billion people want me to succeed. That weight of expectation is very similar to the weight of expectations we have as founders, right? Not 1 billion people, but your team, your team's families, your vendors, suppliers, partners, maybe investors, prospective investors, you, your family, everybody's expectation on you to perform every single day. So that dealing with pressure, that's number 1. 2, I think discipline. To master a sport, you have to put 10,000 hours of work minimum. Right? Sports people are the most disciplined people in the world. Right? 3, respect. On the sports field, whoever you are, whatever money you have, whatever background you have, whatever fame, success you have, on that field, who performs on that day is most relevant. Morocco beat Portugal.
True. Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo is the best player in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo is the best player in the world. He was benched.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't performing.
Yeah.
Sports is the biggest leveler. And the last, and for me, the most important thing in team sports, one person cannot completely control the whole game. If Messi has to score, he has to get a pass from someone. If you want someone else to score, he has to pass someone else to score.
Correct.
Right? If Sachin scores an unbelievable, let's say 200, or Virat scores a 200, his bowlers still have to bowl decently to defend that score, right?
Yep, 100%.
A very interesting learning, which is why I think Sachin failed as a captain as well, was you can't do it alone. And you have to bring your team or empower your team to come along with you. That's when growth compounds. So when I started, for example, I was 24, 25, I had lots of energy. I said, 16 ghanta kaam kar lunga har din, no problem. But you cannot work efficiently 16 hours a day for a long period of time. For 1 year, 2 years, you can't. So 12, 13, 14 hours ho jata hai. One person working 12 hours a day versus 3 people working 8 hours a day, what's more relevant?
Yeah. On the Sachin Tendulkar point, I think Virat built on that and empowered the team and, structured the way Indian team is today with respect to fitness and not being scared of Australians or any other countries.
The not fear part came from Ganguly. That's when it started, right? Because I remember growing up, when I was 6, 7, 8, when we went to Australia, we knew we'd lose. Pretty much, right? Like, we were like, haan, theek hai, haar ke aa jayenge wapas. What's the big deal? Right? It was okay also to lose. It was okay to lose. When Ganguly became captain of India, he said, one, we are going everywhere to win. Whether we win or not, that's based on performance. We're going to win.
Okay.
And number two, if they sledge us, we sledge them back, right? We may not do it first. But if you talk badly to us or you talk down to us, we'll talk down to you. We're equal, right? And that famous moment of 2002-03 NatWest Series finals, Yuvraj and Kef winning the game for us when Sachin, Ganguly, Dravid all were out, and Ganguly taking off his shirt, right? That act said, boss, we are here to play.
Yeah.
Whether we are playing you in India or we're playing you abroad, we're here to play.
Right.
And that changed Indian cricket.
Yeah, that's like one of the most
like
iconic.
Dravid was a great captain, Dhoni was a great captain, Kohli was a great captain, Rohit is a great captain. But the change in Indian cricket of we are here to win and we're not going to take your shit, right?
Yeah.
That started with Ganguly.
What do you think Dhoni brought to the table?
I think Dhoni nurtured so many players. Like if you hear interviews of all of these players, the whole IPL generation, he gave them the confidence to be able to go and do it. I've heard about Dhoni that his room is always open.
Yeah.
There's always people chilling in his room. And the one thing I learned from Dhoni actually, which obviously I've not been able to implement to the level that he was able to implement, is calmness. When do you ever, when Dhoni gets annoyed or angry, like the few times in IPL he's got angry, it's like an anomaly, right? So when his team is playing, at that time it was not super over, it was bowl out against Pakistan. And he gave the ball to Robin Uthappa. He was ice cold. You could see him behind the wickets just saying, ho jayega, kar lenge, no problem, right? He's supposed to be the smartest mind reading the game, watching what's happening.
Correct.
And three, I would say that leadership style is a very interesting leadership style because it's a very different leadership style from Kohli, right? It's a leadership style of nurture, support, bring you along, but not one who's like overly animated. Not
complacent as well.
Not complacent, but not someone who's yelling, screaming, jumping, going crazy, right? And not that I don't like Kohli's style of leadership. I would say I'm more Kohli's style of leadership, excited, getting in the moment, etc., all of that. But, that can also go wrong. If you have someone who's not that vibe, they will not like you being so excitable and so energetic and all of that, right? Yeah. I think the key with Kohli is actually discipline.
With Kohli's discipline.
He is supposed to be the player who spends most time in the nets, most time on his fitness. Look, I'll tell you one thing, right? While I have so much respect for the Sachins, the Sehwags, even the Gangulys of the world, the Indian team or most of the Indian team today, we used to grow up saying, yaar, Indian players are talented, but fitness nahi hai. Fielding nahi kar paate hai. Australia, England, New Zealand, South Africa ke jaise, they're not fit.
Yeah.
Today, the Indian team is as fit as anybody else in the world. Yeah. And that Kohli brought. We are world-class athletes. We are not just cricketers. We are world-class athletes, boss. And we have to be.
I'm sure you heard that story of, Virat, when his Ranji Trophy, when his dad died.
And he still played.
Correct. And there's another similar story with Luka Modric. If you know, they won yesterday.
Yeah.
So Luka Modric was with his parents. They were super duper poor. They used to work 18, 19 hours a day just to meet their ends per day and all that. And even then they couldn't. So at age like 4 or 5, Modric was sent to his grandfather, and his grandfather was taking care of him. And at 6 he went out someday, and all of his learnings for Modric is back in the day from his grandfather. His grandfather went out, and I think it was Serbia militants what was happening in Europe. I don't know the history.
Croatia.
He got killed and all that. He never came back, and he started practicing football in that parking lot. And I think recently he thanked his grandfather also, like a couple of years ago in the 2018 World
But
Cup.
so many stories like this, right? IPL ke kitne stories hai? Chetan Sakaria, Shardul Thakur, Mohammad Siraj. That whole Australia series, what an amazing series. The whole team was injured.
Yeah.
I remember the last test we played with a bowling lineup which had 3 test matches between all of them. All our bowlers. The last test match we played in the last series in Australia. 3 test matches between all the 5 bowlers. Just 3 test matches. 2 or 3 debuts, and one had played 1 match, one had played 2 matches. And Siraj, obviously, his dad passed away. And I mean, sports has so many of these amazing stories that when you watch that, you're like, what are my problems?
Yeah.
Like, what are my problems?
No, I remember. So I used to play badminton back in school, and I went till district, and we were losing bad. ठीक है, हम लोग का पहला मैच हम हार गए. There was a doubles match, and we lost the first match. And second match में they were at a lead of good 6 points. ठीक है, and I was so down. मेरे को लगा मैं हार गया. But just one moment happened wherein we did a backhand, and we won that point. ठीक है. And जो लोग देख रहे थे, वो noise सुन के on that shot, and then we won the point. Something flipped, and we went on to win that match with respect to the energy and वो जो.
And that shows you one thing, right? The crowd matters.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I kept thinking, यार home and away में इतना फर्क क्यों होता है? When I talk to sports people, I say the crowd lifts you. And it works both ways, by the way. Like I was watching Michael Jordan's documentary, The Last Dance, on Netflix.
Yeah.
He was saying I loved when a crowd was against me.
Yeah.
It just made me go so much more, right?
Yeah.
And even Kohli's talked about this with the antagonistic crowd in Australia and all of that. When the crowd is against me, I just want to दिखाना है उनको.
I think so. India versus Australia था. या उसमें जो उनका कोच था ऑस्ट्रेलिया का, उसमें सीरीज में बोला है कि the best strategy against Virat Kohli is don't tell him anything, be away, let him be calm, and don't pump him up.
Because when you rile him up, that's it.
Then you know you're gone. Then you know he's gonna hit.
I mean, Yuvraj's 6 sixes happened because Stuart Broad riled him up, right?
Yeah.
Or someone, I think Peterson or Flintoff riled him up.
Andrew Flintoff.
Flintoff riled him up, and then he hit 6 sixes, right?
Ever since then, I have had this emotion कि मुझे ये crowd का वो chase चाहिए. उसके से मैं बैडमिंटन खेलता था, later gave it up, जो मुझे आज तक regret रहता है. I think it's because of the discipline and all that. So you need to do the shadows and run.
But that's the difference. Like if you see players like Pujara, Dravid, Kaif in cricket, right? Or you see like in football, like a Park Ji-sung.
Right.
See, there are lots of people who don't have so much talent. But like when you watch Pujara play, it's not like Yuvraj Singh or Sachin, where every shot looks beautiful.
Clean. Yeah.
But you can see the hard work, the effort, the hours he's put in, right? And I grew up with a hand-eye coordination problem. I grew up with asthma. And so I've always lived my life in this, I'm not a smart worker. Things don't come easy. But I can do one thing which I guess nobody else can. I can put in as many hours as possible. As many hours. Maybe things don't come easy to me, that's okay.
You're not the best player, but you were school captain just because you...
Because I showed up to practice every day, right? And so I think you have to know what you have and then make use of it to the best.
Why is sports so engaging? Like being a YouTuber or a creator, whatever, we have said कि 2 चीज़ें बहुत important होती हैं. एक तो hook, start of the video में, and एक होता है retention. And with sports, what I've realized is that everything is involved. Hook भी रहता है कि ये matches हैं, ये stars हैं. Retention will always be high because it's live match. You don't know what's gonna happen next. अब क्या होगा, which will keep you hooked. It's like...
And the other thing about sports which is coming to India now, which we have seen in the West, right? If you go to any European country, the clubs, like we are fans, I'm a fan of, let's say, Manchester United, for example, right? But I'm a different kind of fan of Manchester United, a different kind of fan of Mumbai Indians.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Sports brings community together. And what does that mean? That means the people in Manchester who are Manchester United fans, or the people in London who are Chelsea fans, or the people in London who are Arsenal fans, or the people in Liverpool who are Liverpool fans,
Right.
it's such an important part of their community that whatever you do in the week, on that Saturday or Sunday, the people around you come together, and that's what it means for the community. So I can never be as big a fan of any team as I am of Mumbai Indians. Why? Because I have been a fan of this team for the last 13 years. I'm from Mumbai. I've grown up here. I live here. And I feel a different level of connection towards this team, right? And I think if you think about sport, I love Manchester United. I get goosebumps when I watch that treble win in 99, etc. It makes a large group of people feel like they're part of something. Like I just came from Qatar, right? I was at the World Cup.
Yeah.
For the Argentina-Netherlands game, and I have some friends who are Dutch.
Okay.
So unlike most people, I was wearing an orange t-shirt. I felt Dutch for that period of time, right? And that's a really cool feeling, that you feel part of something with a large group of people for that period of time. And that's what hooks people to sport. You'll see that the most famous, successful, wealthy people in the world also love sport. And they also have their teams, and they also go watch their sport, and they love it. And at that time, they are nobody.
Yeah.
They're a fan of that team, right? You go and meet a very successful...
That's the common point.
You go and meet a very successful, wealthy person, you talk to them about Indian cricket. They will come down to your level and have the conversation.
And on the topic of community and all that, France की जो team है ना World Cup की, FIFA की, there's just one guy from France itself, like who's a French guy. Otherwise, there's like guys from Italy, guys from Colombia,
Morocco,
Portugal. Griezmann is from Portugal, in fact.
It's on talent.
It's on talent, correct. And that also reflects to all the audience as well, ना कि वो खुद देख रहे हैं कि all these people are playing together.
Relate.
Exactly.
You relate, right? You relate to the person. Why did Morocco have so many fans? They were not only Moroccans.
Yeah.
All the Africans were supporting Morocco because Morocco is Africa.
Correct.
All the Arabs were supporting Morocco because Morocco is an Arab nation, North Africa.
Yeah.
All the Asians were supporting Morocco because they were like, yaar,
सबसे पास वही है.
सबसे पास वही है. And like, we resonate with this cause, right?
Japan
of
as
Morocco.
well, yeah.
We resonate with this. I was going crazy for Japan.
Yeah.
I've never been to Japan.
Yeah.
I bought a Japan jersey and a Morocco jersey.
Wow.
Because I felt like the underdog, like one day India will also make it to the World Cup, so I have to support this team that we never expected to get here. Everybody was behind Morocco. I was in Qatar, every building was red. The players' faces were on those buildings.
But do you think sports, for an example, is a zero-sum game? I'm winning, you're losing.
World Cup is a zero-sum game. But a league is not a zero-sum game, right? So you'll see lots of times managers okay with a draw, right? You go to a Manchester United, goes to a Bournemouth against a hostile audience when it's raining, against a hostile crowd it's raining, and they're doing not so good, and they nick a goal at the end of the game, and they go back and say, draw's fine. This draw feels like a win.
Yeah.
Or the club that's playing at relegation zone at 19 is playing Manchester City, who's top of the league, and they lose by only 1 goal. That's a win for them because they are like, the next game, if we can lose 1-0 to Manchester City, we can beat West Ham. No problem, right? So I think league is not a zero-sum game because you're allowed to keep improving. But the World Cup, if you're knocked out, you're knocked out. Right? You have 3 games in the group. You have to at least win 2 of them or 1 and 2 draws to get through. So I think knockout tournaments are zero-sum games, but leagues are not zero-sum games. And it allows you to get better every time, and you have to win 25, 27, 28, 30 games to win the league.
Right.
You can lose some as well, that's okay.
Right. And now
You have to manage so many things, injuries and player fitness and all of those things.
But bringing this concept now to life, like, do you think life is a zero-sum game?
Definitely not.
No?
Life is not a zero-sum game because if you think about improvement, right? 1% better every day is not a zero-sum game if you get 1% better every day. But you'll get so much result out of getting 1% better every day. So for me, I think I view life like a game of golf.
As a game of golf?
Get better every day against your score yesterday. The other view I have on life actually, different from other people, is for me, life is not a marathon. Or the journey of life is not one long marathon. It's a marathon broken up into many small sprints. So someone asked me, where do you see yourself 5 years later? I have no clue. 5 years ago, would I be sitting in this room with you, having this conversation with you? I didn't even know who you were 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so I always view life in 100-day sprints. That's how I view life.
100-day sprint.
100-day sprints. So 5 years is broken up into some 18 or 19 100-day sprints.
But I think, short term viewpoint क्या होता है ना, हम सब ऐसे देखते हैं कि यार if I help him, he'll go ahead and I will not have what he has, and वो zero sum game का थोड़ा सा trap जैसा लगता है.
It's easier said than done, but the way to think about it actually is what my dad told me once. He said, when you do something for someone, do it without expectation. मैंने इसको हेल्प किया, 3 महीने बाद जब मैंने उसको कॉल किया और उसने मुझे हेल्प नहीं किया तो I don't like him. That's the trap. That's the trap.
Interesting. And I know you as a person who is always open to help, right? So
why?
That's
right?
Yeah, why?
You asked me when we met once at WeWork why.
Correct.
I tell you why. When I started, I had a few people who were kind enough to help me, and I remember them for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But a bulk of people never helped me.
Right.
And I found it really hard. When people weren't nice to me, when people were arrogant with me, when I was no one and nobody helped me, or people put me down, I felt really bad. I remember once going to meet a big D2C founder. At that time, he was a big D2C founder just before I started Dr. Vaidyas. I had only a sample of a packaging of Live It Up. That's it. Or kuch tha nahi. I was still doing my job.
Right.
And 1 hour, he just told me how shit I am. How shit I am, how shit my idea is, how it's going to fail, and how great he is. I left that meeting feeling so small, I thought I won't quit my job and start this business. When I started making some amount of success, I said, I will be the opposite of that guy. If I can enable you, and you can enable someone else, our country progresses. And today, we are so far ahead of where we were 5 years ago when I started.
Yeah.
What do I lose from having a half an hour conversation with you and you call me or you send me a voice note saying, I want to do this, and I reply on a voice note. And I just tell you, hey, this is the way to look at it, etc. All of that, right?
Right.
What do I lose? If I have some learning, why not share it?
I don't know if this is a global thing. This is an Indian thing or a global thing. Where my restricted viewpoint is Indians only, and where most of the people around me or like around the people I see are like that. Like they don't want to help unless there's something in it for them.
I think the level of maturity comes with time. And it comes with learnings and experiences, right? And you have to go through certain things to be thinking the way I think today, right? When I was 24 and a half, I had so much going on with getting Dr. Vaidyas up and running that maybe I didn't have the bandwidth or the mind space to think about all of this. But the people who get this faster are the people who will make success quicker, or the people who will make success. You have to get it faster. It's not easy. It's like failure, right? Like everyone used to say, you see all on LinkedIn posts and all entrepreneurs talk about wear failure like a badge on your sleeve.
Yeah.
Celebrate failure. It's easier said than done.
Yeah,
right? This is one of those other things that's easier said than done.
But yeah, this is one very good post where they said that experience is nothing but failure.
Yeah.
So if you don't fail, how will you get experience? People talk about, I'm so experienced. What they're talking about is the number of times they failed and number of years they've failed.
And if you get something easy in life, right? What do you learn from it? Let's say, for example, you started creating content, or I started Dr. Vaidyas. On day 1, I got 100 orders. Or on day 1, your reel at 100k views. Life starts seeming so easy for you, right? You don't know difficulty, you don't know challenge. Then when you get the challenge after that, you're like, oh my God, what is this? So for me, the biggest boon was that we had so much failure in the first 2 years of Dr. Vaidyas.
Like one order in 3 days.
When we got success, we were like, boss, we have to hold on to this with our lives.
Yeah. No, this brings me to another interesting point. Like, I've been a creator first, right? I started creating content back in 2018. And for the longest of times, I've never gotten a viral video. I still don't have a viral video. My only 1 million videos is actually boat पे वीडियो जो बनाई थी Shark Tank के टाइम पे, and I think Lenskart पे बनाई थी. Those are the only 2 videos that have gone viral.
If you tell me, when I was at 10 orders a day, I dreamt of having 10 orders a day. Then when I was at 10, I wanted 20. When I was at 20, I wanted 50 and 100 and 200 and 500 and 1,000. When I reached 5,000. But one thing my wife taught me, right? And this is something she instituted Dr. Vaidyas. From 100 orders a day, every time we got to the next landmark of another 100, we'd cut a cake. From 100 to 5,000 orders, we cut 49 cakes. in a 2-year period. So basically every week or every second week we cut a cake. And sometimes in a week we did really well, we cut 2 cakes. But we stopped, reflected, appreciated that moment and then went on. And that's important.
Gratefulness. And
we don't do it enough, right? And then you're always in this rat race and you're always saying, hey, I want to do more, I want to do more. You never feel fulfilled. Never feel happy.
I think that's the problem I'm facing right now.
Yeah, but all of us do. I have the same problem, right? So I met someone interestingly and I put this on LinkedIn. She told me a very interesting definition called fulfillionaire.
I saw that.
Right? Someone who wants to stay in a state of contentment and constantly makes decisions and choices to stay like that.
Yeah.
And I said, ma'am, I am so far away from this. I don't even think I'll be close to this. But what's the first step? She said, don't own any physical assets.
Correct. But what does that mean? I didn't get that part. कि asset से क्या लेना है?
एक asset है, एक घर है, अभी 3 bedroom का घर है, अभी 4 bedroom का घर चाहिए, फिर 5 bedroom का घर चाहिए, गाड़ी है, Mercedes है, फिर Mercedes है तो फिर आपको convertible Mercedes चाहिए. ये नाइकी के जूते हैं, अभी आपको ट्रैविस स्कॉट के जूते चाहिए और फिर उसके आगे आपको लुई विटॉन के कोलैब के जूते चाहिए. Just on and on and on and on and on, right?
ये तो है. How do you personally deal with this? Like this trap of wanting more and upgrading. Like upgrading is not a bad thing, I feel, but kahin to trap hai. You should have your number.
See, I think for me, one good thing for me is I have lost excitement towards material possessions. I need a car, I have a car. I wanted an EV, I have an EV. That's it. That's where my want for car stops. And so that's one part of achieving it. I don't want this t-shirt, those shoes, that pair of jeans, that pair of sunglasses, right? Other than my sports jerseys and my workout equipment, I don't spend so much money on material possessions. So that's one part of it. I think the tougher part for me is actually on doing more work-wise, right? Doing this, then doing that, then doing this, then getting better, then getting better. That's a tougher one for me. But at least the lack of interest or excitement towards material possessions is half the battle. Right. But on the second one, I don't have an answer because I've not reached there.
Got it. But what's the role of social status then? Like, there's a reason why people wear, Gucci and Armani and Louis Vuitton and all that.
It has to mean something to you. The fact that I'm in an EV, I'm happy. That's like, I was saying I have an EV, I don't care about cars. I didn't go and buy an expensive car after I sold my business. So I am not caring about material possessions. Someone came back to me and said, EV is the flex today, not a Mercedes. You're trying to say you're environmentally conscious, you're socially conscious. You've not bought an expensive car. That's the flex.
Correct.
Right. So it's all subjective. But I think it has to mean, it has to make a difference to you or mean something to you, right? So are you buying a pair of shoes or a bag because other people are excited about it, or you will look like something in front of other people, or are you buying because you want it?
Yeah.
I don't mind spending as much money on a pair of running shoes because I love running. So I'll spend as much money on a pair of running shoes. That's utility to me. I'm not wearing the pair of running shoes because that guy sees my running shoes and then says, yeah, he has these running shoes.
I think that's the difference. A lot of people from a third party perspective don't understand. So I have this friend, Sanjot Kheer, your Food Labs, and he has this Rolex watch. And I asked him, why would you spend so much money on this? It's a damn expensive watch. And he told me that, यार ये दूसरों के लिए नहीं लिया हूँ मैं.
मेरे लिए लिया हूँ.
मेरे लिए लिया मैं. जब मैंने ये hit किया था, I wanted to thank myself for working so hard day in and day out.
That's the right way to think about it.
That's why I bought it. And that when I heard it, I was like, okay, there's logic behind this.
He likes the watch. He wanted the watch. He cares for the watch. It means something to him. Every time he looks at it, he feels happy. Right. And he remembers that achievement that he had and that goal he had set for himself to get there.
Rewarding yourself and then upping your game alignment. मेरे को पूरा break down करना है. अब for example मैं किसी को बोलता हूँ कि ये करना चाहिए, like help others and all that, and then they come back to me and saying कि how will it help me back? That's a capitalistic way of looking at things, which is also fine. Usually people लोग बोलेंगे कि तुम्हें नहीं पता वो तुम्हारी help कब वापस कर दे and all that. But that's a little vague.
I think it is vague. And there is no way to solve for that, right? So here's how I think about it, right? One, India is a very large country. And so you can't deal with all inbounds that you get at all points of time, right? You get crazy number of inbounds, and as you do more and more, you get more and more inbounds. So the way I look at it is I segment a section of my week towards doing this. So every Thursday from 1 to 7 p.m., my calendar is open. I give a Calendly link and people can book time with me and I give help. At 11 at night, someone randomly calls me and says, I want your help and all. No, sorry.
And what's the result of it? How is it being talked to?
I've met so many amazing people. I've invested in companies through this. See, you can only speak to people you know and continue to do that, but expand your horizons, meet new people. Some of my closest friends now are people I met through this, who I invested in, who got to know me, etc. All of that. You never know. And it came from what? It came from RPSG, who bought my company, found me through a LinkedIn DM. A cold LinkedIn DM started a conversation that led to an investment that led to the sale of my company.
Correct.
World Invest, the fund I run now, I run V3 Ventures. They found me through LinkedIn. We had a conversation randomly through LinkedIn. I've met some of the coolest people in my life through this. We met without knowing each other through this. And now we share this relationship, right? What's the worst that can happen? The person won't respond. I'll give you a story, right? To tell you about this. So COVID hit. Ayurveda became very relevant in COVID. Zomato had opened the Zomato store model at that time, which means not only food delivery, but like if you want to sell essentials or you want to do food or groceries, etc. All of that. That time, right? March 20, April 20, May 20, crazy uncertainty. And so everyone was asking for Ayurvedic medicine, but they wanted quicker delivery of Ayurvedic medicine, at least in the Bombay area. And so I thought it's very relevant for us to list on Zomato Dr. Vaidyas. So I reached out to someone who connected me to someone, and eventually I reached out to someone in the Bombay team and I said, this is what I do, and I think our product should be listed on Zomato. He said, I'll get back to you the next day, and the next day he told me, your products are not relevant for Zomato, we won't list your products. Now I could have said, okay, theek hai yaar, nahi ho raha hai Zomato pe, theek hai. But I said, it's so relevant, yeah. People want Ayurvedic medicine. They're coming to my clinic and my warehouse to pick up Ayurvedic medicine in the height of the pandemic was so important. I wrote a cold, I found Dipinder Goyal's email. I wrote a cold email to him saying, hi Dipinder, this is my name, this is what I do. This is the background of my company, etc. I think Ayurvedic products are relevant on Zomato stores for XYZ reason. Would love to connect with the relevant person in your team. He replied in 15 minutes, connect me to the person. Next day, the same person who said no to me to list my product said yes.
Wow.
Fine, maybe he won't have responded, but at least I tried. And he responded. And people say that like, right place, right time, right? You have to be at that place at all times to catch the right moment to get the opportunity, right?
पहुंचना पड़ता है वहाँ पे, time पे खुद हो जाता है.
देखो, opportunity आता है, but if you're not present to grab that opportunity, then what are you, right? And so, my view on luck, actually, in relation to success, startups, business, growth, etc., is you make your own luck in the sense that you show up every day, you put in the same hard work every day, ek din opportunity aayega. But if you don't show up every day, that opportunity may come in day 1, day 100, day 1000. But you have to be there for the 1000 days or the 100 days or that day specifically when the opportunity comes to take it.
Correct. 100%. Agreed. But this brings me to another very interesting thing which I want to talk to you about is personal branding. I think you are one of the very few founders and also the first or maybe the first 5 founders who has a personal brand so strong, which even after selling a brand is helping you so much. Like Worldly Invest reached out to you on LinkedIn. ये है 2025 वाली जनता, वो पर्सनल ब्रांड को बहुत ही गलत वे में ले रही है अब. उनके लिए पर्सनल ब्रांड हो गया है कि हमें बस पोस्ट करना है लिंक्डइन पे कुछ भी जेनरिक.
I may have 45,000 followers on LinkedIn, but I believe my quality of audience is high quality, right? Because I only share what I need to share or what's relevant to me. For example, we talked about that fulfilling a definition I put it on LinkedIn. I knew that post is not going to trend because it's not something that everybody can understand. But for my audience, it meant a lot, right? I got 5 large founders screenshot that and send me on WhatsApp. I loved this. I learned so much from this. And so I think you got to figure out why you're creating that content. Why did I start writing on LinkedIn, by the way? I started writing on LinkedIn when the pandemic hit and Dr. Vaidyas was open. And the experiences we went through to keep our business open at that time, which meant me and our small team of 5 people unloading a 750 kg tempo every second day because there was no help, right? And so we had to do it ourselves. It meant my grandmother sticking labels on our packages so that we were more efficient in the warehouse. It meant my brother leaving our family jewelry business to come and help us in the warehouse. These things were stories I wanted to share because it would inspire people that even through the hardship, you can work through this and make some opportunity out of it. That's when I started writing on LinkedIn. And then I saw it impacted people's lives and people actually learned so much from it, right? 100%. And that's why I continued. I don't write because it gives me fame. I don't write because it gives me publicity. I don't write because of all of those things. I write because people are waiting for that content to learn from it. And maybe I learned from people like that when I was building.
Yeah.
And so if it impacts one founder's life positively, and it may have impacted many, that's all I'm doing it for. When I was in the 11th grade, Harsha Bogle came to our school to give a talk. And I'm a big fan of Harsha, like a crazy fan of Harsha.
Yeah.
He said anything that has your name on it has to be 11 on 10 or can't have your name on it. Mediocrity is not okay, and if it has your name on it, it has to be you. You put your name against something, you have to be able to be okay with it 5 years later as well. Your name's on it.
So the two things that I've learned from you very honestly that you don't know about is that number one, there's only helping others while angle. Second thing is, only after watching your stories of Japan winning and all that, it's like, यार ऐसा क्या है FIFA में या football में जो इतने हैं.
And then you started watching the World Cup.
Then I started watching the football matches. सारे पुरानी highlights भी देखी.
World Cup specifically has so many stories within the stories, right?
Yeah.
Of the teams, of the players, of the smaller teams, what it means to them, what it means to those people. 2002 World Cup, I remember watching Korea. It was in Korea, Japan.
Okay.
Those audiences, those crowds, they had never seen a World Cup in their life, and it was in their country. It was just amazing. And the stories within the stories, right? Like Japan fans cleaning the stadium after the match. I mean, it's so interesting, so cool, so different, so many cultures coming together. USA playing Iran, the relationship that USA and Iran had, and then USA playing Iran in the World Cup second time, seeing that game, the stories that go around it, and then what happens. I think it's just amazing. And the World Cup, actually the Football World Cup is one of the only tournaments which has representation from so many parts of the world. It's just the Football World Cup and the Olympics, right? Which has this amount of representation from the globe.
True. Cricket, if you see from that perspective, it's very small. 6-7 countries खेलती हैं.
ठीक है, अभी 12, 13, 14, 15 हो गए हैं, but that's still very small.
Why do you think India is not in football and Olympics and all that? Infrastructure and all that? Yeah, some other reason.
I think we're getting there. So we won 7 medals this Olympics, right?
Yeah, correct.
Sports fitness is come to India now. It wasn't the case earlier. It wasn't the case that people used to work out and talk about their workouts all the time. It wasn't the case that people used to eat healthy. When I left for college in 2009 and I saw whole foods and organic food and natural food and smoothie bowls and yogurt bowls and berries and seeds, I did not seen it in India at all. Right?
Yeah,
we didn't have restaurants, cafes that talked about it. So I think it's coming, but I think all of us have a part to play, right? So I'm very passionate about sport, you know that. And so charity for Trisha and I is we donate to Inspire Institute of Sport, which is JSW's initiative to create Olympic athletes. They created Neeraj Chopra, they created Bajrang Punia, they created Sakshi Malik. And we are the only individual donors to this initiative, right? Everyone else is corporates. And we donate for one athlete till Paris Olympics. That's all we do. I think all of us need to come together. It's not just the government's responsibility. It's not just large corporates' responsibility. If we can do it, why can't everybody else, right? And so all of us need to, if we believe that India should win 20, 30 medals in the Olympics, if we believe India should be in the Football World Cup in 2030, I genuinely believe it because Football World Cup is going to be 48 teams now. If we believe it, we should do something about it.
From 2026, right?
From 2020. So 2026 may be early, but 2030 is genuinely, it's possible that we can make the Football World Cup. Right? So all of us need to make our efforts.
Right. And another thing from sports is the importance of having a mentor. Like, वो individual level पे भी चले जाओ. Virat Kohli had a mentor, Messi had a mentor and all that, and bringing that back to real life. Nowadays, I think people are also starting to realize having a mentor in life of who can help you, who can put you in the right direction. Who has helped you in your journey?
That was my dad. Before I had an investor also, we would go every month to his office and present like he was our board member or our chairman of our board, etc. All of that. See, I think what you need in a mentor, right? You need someone who has no filters, right? So when things are going bad, the person tells you they're going bad, and when things are going good and you don't see that things are going good, that person tells you things are going good. So I think someone who tells you as it is, someone who's available when you have that panic call and need to have that conversation,
right? And
someone who helps you in your growth. Right? Who's seen maybe more things than you've seen and helps you in your growth. Sometimes you say, why does Roger Federer need a mentor? Why does Messi or Ronaldo need a coach? Everyone does. Because while you are performing and that person may not have performed to your level, they can see you on a daily basis and see where you're good and bad and ugly and improve. It is paramount and critical in all aspects of life for me. And it helped me a lot. Helped me a lot. Because you are seeing things you've never seen before.
Yeah.
I need someone to share that with.
And how do you suggest you find a mentor?
I think I get lots of people who say, be my mentor, be my mentor, be my mentor. It's not something that it's so light, right? You need to first go to someone, build a relationship with someone, spend time with them, They need to vibe with you as you need to vibe with them. Then they can become your mentor. So many people just randomly send messages saying, "Hi sir, I love your journey, be my mentor." No, it's not. You can't take it so lightly. You have to go there, spend time with the person, ensure you get time with the person, see that there's a vibe check and a vibe match, and then the person can actually become a proper mentor.
Got it. And this brings me to culture. Because you mentioned incentive alignment of team and all that. And I think you struggled with culture for the longest of time. I think you mentioned somewhere that you didn't focus on it anymore. Or initially you wanted to do everything on your own and then you built a team and culture. So there's a lot to learn because I currently am also trying to, I'm at this phase of 15-20 teams where I'm like culture build karna hai and incentive alignment karna hai. So what do you suggest?
You have to define what your organization stands for, right? And so we defined it at Dr. Vaidyas eventually. It was honesty is our practice, hard work is our strength, humbleness is our equity. We go happy to work and happier to achieve, 100% and nothing else. Team effort is our power and customers are reason for being. Right? So these 7 philosophies, and I remember them the back of my hand still, right? And this is what we stood for. We didn't stand for a chilled environment. We didn't stand for Instagrammable corners in our office. We didn't have beanbags in our office. We were hardworking people. We wanted to achieve. We wanted to work really hard, and that was the culture. And so if you wanted to have a chill life and go out for excursions with your team every week, we were not the right place for you. And so culture defines what you are and what you're not. It's set by the founders or the early team in an organization. And then you hire basis people that fit that. I learned that hiring on culture was much, much more effective than hiring on skill set. Skill set could be taught, but culture couldn't. And so a culture mismatch was a really bad apple in the organization. And it takes time to set culture. But defining what the mission, vision, purpose, and vibe is in the org will define the future.
And this is where people struggle usually with scaling and all that. Like once you cross over.
And as you keep scaling your org, like first there is an organization where everyone's sitting in one room. Then there's an organization where you can yell and still be able to hear someone. And everyone has lunch together. Then there's an organization with multiple offices. Then an organization with multiple offices in multiple cities. At each point to make this culture work, you need different skill sets. But the first step would be setting it up.
Got it. And the second part, incentive alignment. What do you suggest there?
I think incentive alignment, look, even for a team, right? Everyone needs to feel part of the larger goal. It's not the founders that the only people that define it. Whether it's ESOPs, whether it's incentives, whether it's performance-linked incentives, that team member needs to feel like I am part of this. It's not just the founder's company, it's my company. And when someone comes to me with an opportunity, I don't look at it because I'm so aligned or so ingrained in this org. That's how you align incentives. Like I remember an amazing story. I had a team member who left for his MBA, and then he launched a brand of masks during the pandemic just after his MBA. And it said he came to the office to show me the masks. And the masks on the packaging, it said proudly Indian. And that was what every single Dr. Vaidya's product used to say on the front and center of the packaging. So that culture of Dr. Vaidya's, even though he left the org for his MBA and then started something on his own, that still stayed with him through the 2 years later.
Nice. Love it. These are also experiences and learnings and values you sort of ingrain from one organization and take it to the other and keep it with you. Lovely. Got it. And I want to talk a little bit about this. Sometimes you meet people and like, yeah. And then sometimes you're like, "Arey, isse milna hai dobara, maza aaya milke." Not just because of the conversation, but because of the, I don't know, expressions,
positivity,
body language.
and
exactly. Do you believe in that? Do you feel
100%, 100%. I meet so many people who are very successful, who we can do lots of things together, but it just didn't work. And maybe it's my vibe didn't work with them, it's their vibe that didn't work with me, or vibes didn't match, and that's fine. That's okay. And you don't have to be everything for everyone. You have to be something for someone. And there are certain people that you get along with and you get to know with, and regardless of age barrier, age gap, etc., all of that, if it works, it works. And that's how I've seen it, right? And I've met so many people where it just clicks on day one, and then you keep maintaining the relationship, have the conversation, keep it going, and I believe in that. And it's something more than we can explain, but it exists for sure.
This is not really related to all the conversations that we had, but still wanted to speak to you because I think you're one of those people who has done your abroad studies, and right, you're undergraduate from Brown University, and you built for India already. ऐसा भी नहीं कि build कर रहे हो, आपने build कर लिया, and I'm still building for India in a way via Worli Invest. So just wanted to touch upon this topic of India versus US, or like India versus the West, Kelo, developing country versus developed country.
Yeah, I think it's a topic that I care about a lot. Why did I go abroad for my education? I went abroad for exposure. I learned a lot. My best 4 years were my years at Brown.
Nice.
I met people from all over the world. 75 people from outside of India who are my friends at Brown came down to India for my wedding in 2018. Almost 5 years after we graduated. I have friends from all over the world. I learned a lot of things about their cultures from them as well. But I was clear I wanted to come back to India. Why did I want to come back to India? Because we are fortunate, right? We are that 1-2% of India that has opportunities that other people don't have. And so it's our responsibility to give back to India in some way, whether it's business, whether it's social, whether it's political, whether it's anything, right? We are fortunate people, and so we need to give back to India. Also, I think that the way of working in the West is very different from India. It's a developed country. The 4 years I spent at Brown, I had lots of opportunities to work in the US after that. And then I would do the typical thing, right? 4 years in college, 2-3 years work, then do an MBA, and then move back to India. And then 10 years later, I'd move back to India. Having lived outside of India for 10 years, I would not be able to adjust back to life in 100%, India. 100%. And I was very clear I wanted to come back to India. And so I came straight back to India.
Even 4 years is a lot.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. My stomach could not handle spicy food for the first 2 years that I came back.
Oh, damn, yeah.
And so I think I made my conscious choice that I wanted to be back here. And I wanted to give back and build here. And
what about from a perspective of, let's say you remove this emotional aspect, just from a businessman perspective, do you feel, I can't back it with data, but I still feel that India has a lot more opportunities.
Yeah. Look, I am very bullish on India. I wear this band with the Indian flag on my hand. I've been wearing it for the last 12, 13 years now.
Nice.
I'm maybe biased, but I'm fundamentally bullish on India. Why? Because there's lots that's been done there already, that's been leveraged, that's complete. There's so much left to do here. We are a population of 1.4 billion people, with one of the youngest populations in the world, a burgeoning middle class that wants to consume brands, that aspires for brands, that wants to improve. Where else in the world do you have this opportunity? Nowhere. That's my view. That's my belief. But nowhere.
And from a D2C perspective, or like a brand variety perspective, you go to US, you go to Europe, you go to a normal Kirana store, which is not actually a Kirana store, it's a full-on mega supermarket, and you see 10 type of milk, 100 types of biscuits, 100 type of chips, and when you come back to India, you see wahi 2-3 chips.
That's the opportunity we have, right? We are fundamentally a brand-starved nation, and we still have so much more to create. Having said that, the biggest mistake one can make is take an American model and say, I'll implement that in India. India is a fundamentally different economy with fundamentally different needs, different price points, different consumers, different consumption patterns. And so the smartest thing that Flipkart did was cash on delivery. The smartest thing that Ola did was schedule the car. Right? If I have a flight in the morning, I can schedule my pickup at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. and not go and scramble and see. Right? So I think Indianizing or making things for the Indian
understanding your consumer.
I invest a lot in things I don't consume
100%,
because my consumption is limited to 1 million people or less in India.
Correct. And you have mentioned this so many times that
removing personal bias from investing.
Removing personal bias from the investment, and second is talking to your consumer. Like at Dr. Vaidyas, I mentioned is that you problem with you speak them, you tell them, and whatever they tell you, and then you navigate accordingly, and that's how you win. You don't think from your perspective, but from the consumer's perspective, and that's what made the difference. All right, that's it. Arjun, thank you so much for doing this.
I'm so excited to be a part of this. This is a long time in the making, and I love the logo. All the best for the Restless podcast, and yeah, excited.